just finished watching Adesanya versus Pyfer. Let's start at the top. What were your thoughts on this fight, Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer, going into it? I guess we can start with that. You seem to think you were pretty convinced that Pyfer was being underrated.
100%. I mean, the bet that I put out there was Pyfer to get a finish in round 1 or 2 with like a small dart on the sub prop, which almost hit 2, but the rounds 1 to 2 hit, which was, I mean, he was an underdog, so that was probably like a plus 400 or something like that. So, I mean, that cashed. So, to anybody who tailed, you're welcome. But Pyfer, what I got from that was a good win. Pyfer has a lot of heart. Dude has no leg kick defense, and he gassed hard, like hard. But obviously, he's still dangerous no matter what. And it's kind of weird to think that he was like number 14 ranked, and he just beat Izzy, and now he's top 5. So it's kind of like, it's giving me a weird feeling that he jumped up like almost into title contention. And I was thinking, I'm like, dude, like he is going to fight like where Izzy's at right now in his career. He's decent. He's a good win to have in your resume. But to go from that to like his next fight's going to be probably like, you know, Magomed Ankalaev or like Azamat Murzakanov, you know? And that is
that's light heavyweight. This is a middleweight.
Oh, you're right.
No, you're thinking it's going to be like Kyle Bahalio or like Nasruddin Imavov, something like that.
And I'll say those guys their fight IQ will last a lot longer than Izzy's. And they will exploit a lot of the weaknesses that Joe Pyfer showed tonight. Because Izzy was actually looking really good. And, you know, he was actually rocking Pyfer like a lot. And
yeah, he was.
But for some reason, in the second round, he rocked Pyfer and decided to brawl with a guy whose nickname is Body Bags with a Z. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm like, dude, Izzy, like I know you want to just have fun in there now that you've already accomplished everything in your career, but like, come on, dude. Like you were cooking him and you just kind of threw it all away. But yeah, I mean, good one for Pyfer. So.
Yeah, I think, gosh, it's so tough. Even these last few fights, like Izzy is 0-4 right now. Besides the Strickland fight, he kind of got shut out. But the DDP fight, the Imavov fight, and now the Pyfer fight, it seems like he actually was doing good at the first part of it. Like even the DDP fight, I thought he was winning the fight in the 4th round when the fight ended. Like I thought he was up in the rounds. And I felt the same way about this fight. I thought he was winning round 1. Going into round 2, Joe Pyfer looked like he really looked like he was uncomfortable there. He looked really tired, really shocked. Like his coaches had to tell him, like, you're here, right? You're here for a fight. Like this is what you bargained for. You know what I mean? Like he really looked uncomfortable going into the second round. Izzy was winning mentally. He was winning technically. The low kicks, Pyfer had no answers for them. And that could be a huge problem. Man, can you imagine if Pereira was still in this division? I mean, this would have ended horribly for him. Yeah, very weird. It's unusual that we see Izzy kind of put his guard down and try and turn it into a brawl. Like, I mean, I guess he did that earlier in his career, like when he fought Kelvin Gastelum. That fight kind of got ugly, but not to this degree. Like I think the biggest problem is that when he had Pyfer hurt in the second round and he had him backed up against the fence, he kind of just stood in front of him in hitting range and didn't move his head. It's like, what do you expect? Like, of course he's going to throw something back and hit you. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the beginning of the end. And it even showed like in the final takedown, basically, he threw a right hand and really loaded up on it and kind of overswung. And Pyfer kind of just ducked down and got to a body lock and kind of just dragged him down. You know, as far as takedown defense goes, I've always thought that Adesanya was actually pretty good. In fact, all the city kickboxing guys are pretty good when it's against the fence, right? Navajo Stirling was the same way. Tonight, I guess I should say. But when they're against the fence and their opponent has like an over-under or double unders even, they're really good at least digging one arm to the inside, getting a collar tie, and kind of pulling them to the side and exiting out. Because when they're backed up against the fence, their opponent can just kind of push them into the cage and keep them almost kind of pinned there. Even though over-under is kind of like it's a pretty neutral position, in MMA, because there's a cage, whoever's on the non-cage side, right? Like whoever has their back to the rest of the octagon, they can just kind of push their opponent into the cage and keep him pinned there. And so Adesanya's, and really everybody from City Kickboxing, is really good at getting a collar tie and just pulling their opponent to the side. That way their back is no longer against the cage, and they can kind of just push them off and create space if they really want to. And it works so well. Like Israel Adesanya rarely gets taken down when he's against the cage, and it was the same way in this fight too, but not so good at defending takedowns from the center. Right. I mean, if someone shoots a takedown on him in the center, it's historically he hasn't been that good at it. But yeah, good win for Joe Pyfer. Is he ready to be in the top 5 based on that performance? I don't know. I guess only time will tell. Maybe he will be fine. And of course, at the end, Izzy said that he's not going anywhere. Right. He wants to stay fighting. I think his possibility of being a champion is kind of down the tubes at this point, but who knows? Maybe he just wants to fight for fun, right? I think that's kind of how it was with guys like Anderson Silva. I think we're kind of seeing Izzy kind of in the same sort of situation that Anderson Silva was at the end of his career. You know, he has a great legacy. This won't affect his Hall of Fame status whatsoever. Everybody gets older and starts to decline. It's just kind of part of being a human. So, yeah, he can do whatever he wants with his career at this point. Fight for money, fight for fun. Like, he's always going to have a huge fan base watching him because he's just so beloved, because he had a great career. So, yeah, I think good win for Joe Pyfer, but it sucks to see Izzy lose again, especially seeing how good he looked in the first round. But that's been the same story for the last 3 fights of his, and I would very much be surprised if he's a favorite in his next fight, because I think he was a favorite against Imavov too. I'm pretty sure he's been a favorite. Actually, I think he was probably a favorite against DDP as well. I don't think he's been an underdog anytime recently, but next fight, for sure, he'll be an underdog, especially now because he's probably going to be ranked low. I mean, what was he ranked in this fight? 5th or something in the division? I don't remember, but yeah, I think he'll probably drop down to 7 or 8. I mean, that's crazy to think that. Imagine seeing an Israel Adesanya fight with like a double-digit number next to his name. Crazy. But here we are. You know, he's 36. It's like, it happens to everybody.
Yeah, and the fights that he's been in have been way more fun when he's not a champion. Like, I'll be honest, think about it. When he fought Pereira the second time, he wasn't a champion. And then, you know, Dricus and Imavov and this, like, these all been very enjoyable fights, and they've all been when he's not a champion. And I actually really like that Izzy's embracing the fact that he's going to be a gatekeeper, because I don't think being a gatekeeper is that bad. I don't think it's good if you don't want to be a gatekeeper, but if people are like, I'm okay with it, I'm going to have fun fights, I'm just going to go in there, win some, lose some, get some fans, and then end my career. Like, that's kind of where Izzy's at, and I think that's a great place to be. You know, like, he didn't take a ton of damage in this fight. I mean, he didn't get, like, knocked down, right, at all or anything like that. I think he had, like, a bloody nose, but he had no cuts. Like, you know, and I think we'll see an Izzy that will fight more often and have fun fights. So I'm happy with where Izzy's at in his career, and even though it sucks to see him lose, but he's content where he is, and so I'm happy about that. And you know, Joe Pyfer, we'll see what he. You know, I might, depending on who he gets in his next fight, I think it's the step up in competition is going to be insane. So we might be seeing him as like a plus, 200 underdog in his next fight, and we'll kind of talk about that when that happens. But yeah, good fight.
Let's move on to the co-main. Unless you had more to say about the main.
No, I'm chilling.
Nope. All right. Okay. This was maybe one of the most insane finishes I've ever seen in a women's fight. Maybe even one of the crazier finishes I've seen across men and women's fights in recent memory. Like, something about it just looks so violent. Basically, Alexa Grasso lands a really crisp right cross right down the center as Macy Barber is trying to throw a hook on the same side. Classic. The same shot that got Jorge Masvidal, that Kamaru Usman hit Jorge Masvidal with. Straight punch beats a looping punch, and the person who's throwing the hook, they're just super open right here. Bang, gets hit with the right cross. Okay. When Macy Barber hit the deck, she was already really, really hurt. Grasso lands a massive hook from behind that, like, basically it comes in this way, and that one put her completely out cold. One of the things I love so much about Alexa Grasso is that she realizes that submissions are so easy to get when your opponent is disoriented. Like their arms are nowhere near their head. Like the thing about grappling is so technical that you can't be good at grappling. Like you literally can't be good at grappling unless you're very, very conscious and very thoughtful of what you're doing at all times. It's a slow paced game, and it's very much whoever has more technical knowledge with grappling and strength to a degree, but mostly technical knowledge will win every single time, because there's just such a large amount of technique that you need to know to give yourself the competitive advantage. And so a lot of times submissions are great to go for in scrambles because people aren't worried about protecting themselves, but especially good if someone hurts themselves. Club and sub, dude, the club and sub should be like, it should be, I'm amazed we don't see more fighters that literally base their entire game plan on club and sub. Like use the stand up to hurt them and then don't go for a TKO on the ground. Instantly go for a submission. Get behind them as fast as you possibly can and sink in a choke. Because most of the time when people get hurt, they're not even remotely thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to defend this choke to the best of my ability? They're just in survival mode. They don't even know where they are half the time. So, I mean, look how easy it was for her to sink in that choke when Maycee Barber hit the ground. It looks so easy, like under the neck, completely super tight rear naked choke. And Maycee Barber, dude, it looked rough. I mean, she looked really bad laying there on the ground for a while. I mean, obviously she was awake, but dude, that was intense. Super violent finish. It's just insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely the greatest female finish I've ever seen in my life. Like I'm honestly, it was so good that like I'm honestly in shock. Like I don't really have much words to describe what happened. You know, Alexa's boxing, she's known as a jiu-jitsu fighter, but I think in this fight she showcased how crisp her boxing is. And she mentioned too that, you know, I guess she took some time off and she healed some injuries, and that this is what she looks like when she's, you know, injury free. And you know, I'm enjoying it, right? Like she always tends to be a very passive fighter, which is kind of what happened when she lost to Valentina and when she lost to Natalia Silva. And so she was aggressive in this fight. She looked like Charles, honestly. And that's probably the comparison I'd make for her. And so, yeah, she looked phenomenal. And I'm not exactly sure where she's at right now in title contention, because she's fought Valentina 3 times. So that's like, she needs to win some more. Even though this is like KO of the year for WMMA, she needs to fight at least one more to be in the picture. She lost to Natalia Silva, who's going to get the next title shot. So I guess there's Erin Blanchfield and Manon Fior. But she'll probably fight one of them next. But yeah, just phenomenal performance.
Yeah, I'd be fine with either of those, Erin Blanchfield or Manon Fior. Either one, I think would be good.
Yeah,
she definitely deserves to fight up in rank 100%. After that win, because Maycee Barber was ranking lower than her, and so when you do that, I think you kind of prove without a shadow of a doubt that you deserve to be fighting up. So yeah. Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. This wasn't really much of a fight. Really good takedown and good back control and good RNC. Like, I don't have much to say. Obviously, this is his retirement fight, so it's kind of cool to see him go out on a big win like that, but he was a minus 900 favorite. I think everybody kind of knew his path to victory here, and he did what the script said. You know, not that this is scripted, but you get what I'm saying. I don't have much to say beyond that.
Yeah, kind of I won't say a stupid fight, but a fight that nobody was expecting much from. I'm glad Chiesa got a win on his retirement fight. I mean, everybody wants that for a fighter that's been in the sport for a long time, you know, kind of right off in the sunset well. Nico Price just did what he always does, is be unorthodox, lose the fight, but have like one or two moments. Dude, when Chiesa had his back and he launched forward, I was like, dude, he just wanted to compress some vertebrae on, you know, Michael Chiesa before he retired. You know what I mean? Dude.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, dude, why don't fighters do that more often? Like I mentioned this earlier, that Kamaru Usman and Hamza Chimaev, when they fought, and Hamza had his back, had the choke locked in, and Kamaru was like, this is kind of risky for both of us getting knocked out, but I'm about to get choked out. And so he just thrusted both their heads in the ground. And Hamza, I think that's also the fight that he messed up his wrist, because he had to post really hard because he was about to get knocked out. I'm like, if you have a choke locked in and somebody's on your back, I feel like that would be the number one last Hail Mary. I'm just gonna like throw your head and like partly my head into the ground and see what the heck happens. You know what I mean? Dangerous for both, but a guy like Nico Price tends to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on this one. Oh
yeah, dude, Michael Chiesa is not gonna be able to turn his head tomorrow. Oh yeah, like he's gonna be doing this like he's Batman.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. This is also a retirement fight for Nico Price, and just nobody gave a crap.
Really?
Like, nobody said anything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said both of them are retiring after this fight.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I guess congratulations to Nico Price on an MMA career. Like, I don't know what else to say there.
I'm pretty sure I saw Nico take his gloves off and then like motion to DC, and DC was kind of just like, "Nah, you're good, bro. It's like you're good, bro. We have Michael Chiesa. You're good." It's like you know what I mean.
Wait a second. What on earth? Am I looking at this correctly? I just looked at the stats on this. Supposedly, Nico Price had 107 total strikes. That has to be a mistake, right? 94 significant strikes. This is on the UFC's page. This fight was 60 seconds long.
That was probably
Bro's hitting a speed bag.
Average Nico Price fight.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's got to be a record. Anyways,
I don't know where you're getting that stat from, but we should probably move on.
It was on the UFC's. If you go on their website right now, it says that he landed 107, 63% accuracy, meaning he attempted 170 strikes, 107 landed, 94 significant in the first 60 seconds. This fight ended at the 1 minute mark of round one. Nico Price.
Yeah, I don't know what fight you're watching, but
new all-time record.
Yeah. That's
great way to go out on your career.
That's how biased the UFC stat makers are. All right,
I guess.
All right, let's move on to the Larian Douglas and the Julian Erosa.
Yeah,
I mean, I think everybody knew what was going to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure the matchmaking was just terrible for Julian Erosa. He's old, super slow. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have anything to say. He just got mauled in the first round, had no moments, and Douglas, you know, it's like, it's hard to base an opinion off of Douglas because Julian Erosa is such low competition at this point in his career. It's like, yeah, you know, it's like Daniil Donchenko when he got the Alex Morono win. It's like, yeah, like it was a great win and you had him on the ropes a couple times, but it's Alex Morono. So it's like, unless you fight somebody who's like close to top 15, it's like it's hard to just tell how good you are. So kind of the same thing here. Yeah. I don't know how good Douglas actually is, so I'm excited to see him fight like some decent competition.
I will say he looked really sharp, really compact. Like he wasn't over. Like the difference between him and Erosa is Erosa just looked like he wasn't as. It's hard to even put it into words, but like when you look at Larian Douglas and you look at his posture, it just looks like he is loaded up to throw with a lot of power. Whereas Erosa was a little more like flowy, kind of like Corey Sandhagen or something. And yeah, his head movement just was not what it needed to be. And Larian Douglas, he was punching. Yeah, you know they say you're trying to punch through your opponent's head, like you're trying to aim, and as if their opponent is like their head is like 6 inches back. And you're trying to hit that target. So that way you don't land on the exact, it's not like they're right at the end of your punch. It's like you're punching through their head. That's what it looked like when Larian Douglas was hitting him. Like he dropped him 3 times in a row with a jab. That's crazy. I mean, he clearly has a lot of power. So I agree. We don't really know what he'll look like against the rest of the division. But dude, imagine if he fought someone like John Silva or something. Imagine how awesome that fight would be. Like those guys both hit so hard. It'd be such a cool fight.
Yeah, dropping somebody.
That's all I got for that one.
Dropping somebody 3 times with a jab might be a record in the span of like 15 seconds. That might be a record. And I felt bad because when I was watching that happen, I was like, this guy is definitely throwing jabs because he feels bad for Julian Erosa. Like I thought that. I was like,
hey, it works.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped him with every jab, so I can't complain, but good fight. Yeah.
Want to move on? Okay. Mansour Abdul-Malik versus Yusri Belgaroui. Dude, Yusri Belgaroui is going to be really solid, I think, in the UFC. Like, he's very different from someone like Pereira. Like, obviously, it's easy to compare him to people like Pereira because they fought, I want to say, a few times in Glory. And Pereira trains with him, like he's one of his coaches now. Did he ever fight Adesanya, Belgaroui? I don't know if he ever did. I'll have to check that, but I'm not sure if he did. But anyways, he does fight differently than Pereira, though. Pereira does a lot of circling when he fights, but Belgaroui did a lot of circling. Like he was, his feet were just moving a lot faster. Pereira kind of takes baby steps, and he's very upright. Belgaroui had a wider stance, and he was really moving a lot, probably because he was expecting a takedown from Abdul Malik, and so he just kind of wanted to be like a moving target. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not be so upright where it's a lot harder to just drop your hips to the ground. But yeah, really fast hands. He used his reach to just the max. You know what I mean? I think that was a big problem for Abdul Malik. He just couldn't get past the whatever it was 5 or 6 inch difference in reach that they had. He couldn't get past it, and every time he tried to get close, Belgaroui would just create space, and even his takedown attempts were a little sloppy. Although I will say, it's a little concerning. Like that to me, I think for Belgaroui, his future, the biggest concern is going to be the takedown defense, because even when Mensur Abdulmalik was throwing kind of sloppy takedowns, like kind of just running at him and tackling him, he landed a couple that were, that against another really, really like fast, high level opponent. I forget, is this light heavyweight or is this middleweight? Middleweight, yeah. He's not going to beat Hamzat. Belgaroui will not beat Hamzat. As long as Hamzat's champion, he's never going to be champ. Because Hamzat's going to shoot a double leg in the first 2 seconds of the fight, and he's going to get him down. But yeah, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, this is kind of maybe a weird comparison, but the way Belgaroui fights almost reminds me a little bit of Yuri. Like knees, really tall, kind of like fast upper body movement. Like he's good at, like I remember in the finishing sequence, he was really good at just seeing Mensur Abdulmalik's punches coming, moving out of the way, and countering really fast. And Yuri's been getting so good at that lately. A lot of straight shots, like not a lot of looping shots. And yeah, he just put a lot of pressure on Mensur Abdulmalik. But also stayed composed. Like he didn't ever overextend himself like Izzy did against Pyfer. So anyways, I thought it was a really good performance by Belgaroui.
Yeah, I was just checking, and Israel Adesanya actually defeated Belgaroui by split decision in Glory in 2016. So they did fight in 2016, so it's kind of cool to see. Yeah, dude, honestly, the main highlight of this fight was just the knees from Belgaroui. He's so lengthy, even when they're in the clinch, he could almost get knees up to Malik's head. Like, it was like that. Yeah. And it almost reminded me of that knockout of Matt Frivola and Ferris Ziam. You remember that? When Matt Frivola turned his head and Ziam got his knee all the way up there and knocked him out cold. And, you know, and he knows that is his main advantage, and he exploits that in every fight he's in. So I was a little bit, I honestly was more on Malik's side going into this fight because of Belgaroi's performance against Asma Bakoyev, and Malik has a lot longer reach than Asma Bakoyev and more power. And so I was like, I thought that he was going to be able to catch Yusri Belgaroui, but I mean, I'll never count him out again. You know, he proved me wrong. His experience in the cage is obviously showing. He's so comfortable in there. Like when he steps in, even when his opponent has crazy power, he never looks nervous. He always looks like he's just kind of flowing. It's like he starts the fight in that, you know, I've already been dropped state. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, and I think honestly a lot of that comes from the fact that he has Pereira as a coach, you know, and their history. And, you know, honestly, Pereira's team really knows how to game plan well. And I think Pereira will make a great coach when he retires.
Dude, you know what's crazy? I was just looking at their profiles on ESPN. Mensur Abdulmalik actually has a longer reach than Belgaroui. Why do I think he has such a big reach disadvantage? Maybe because Belgaroui is so tall at 6'6", whereas Mensur Abdulmalik is 6'2". Maybe that's why. But dude, wait, what? Yusri Belgaroui is 6'6" at middleweight? Dude.
Yeah, and what's funny is that
he doesn't look that skinny though. That's crazy. I mean, I guess, but yeah, the other thing I was going to mention too that I just now remembered is the leg kicks. Mensur Abdulmalik didn't really have an answer for the leg kicks, especially in the first round. In the first round, Belgaroui was really beating him up, but Oh, wow. Yeah, he looked even taller than Pereira when they stand next to each other. That is insane. Wow. Okay, yeah, this guy is crazy. Oh, yeah, he does look quite a bit thinner than guys like Pereira and stuff. But dude, that is insane. Anyways, that's all I got for this one.
Yeah, me too. Dude, Terrence McKinney, man. I mean, I'm not like I'm always happy when he wins, but I'm not gonna act surprised. We know it's like Hamza when he was in the beginning of his career. Every time we're like, yep, he's gonna shoot the first 5 seconds. You know, it's just like the same thing. It's like I will never watch a McKinney fight and expect it to go to decision. You know what I mean? I just know it's going to end in the first round, whether it's in McKinney's favor or he's going to get finished. I just know it's going to happen in the first round because McKinney also has a terrible gas tank. So it's like he's got 2 minutes of pedal to the metal or he's screwed. But yeah, dude, I mean, the bet hit. We had McKinney round 1 and he looked good. You know, the superstition of like he wins one fight and then loses one fight and then wins one fight. I mean, it continues. And he won this fight. So, you know, in his next fight, we're gonna have to keep that in mind. Are we fading it? Or are we going against the McKinney curse? But yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? One thing I thought was kind of cool. Little note I had was kind of underrated thing about the takedown sequence is that he actually landed a really good knee right in the liver. Right before he threw the head kick. Like he threw the knee, and then once his leg dropped back to the ground, pretty much threw the head kick right away. And it did get blocked, but I think for the most part, it kind of knocked him over. And it was really the ground and pound that finished the fight. But dude, I love when people do that, when they hit the body and then they go up top on the same side or even on the opposite side. Like classic example was Ilia Topuria against Damon Jackson. Ripped a body shot. Damon Jackson instantly is all of a sudden thinking about the body, and then he goes up top and lands a massive right hand. This is a little different, obviously, because it was a knee fall by a head kick, but still kind of the same idea. Like, I guarantee you, Nelson was thinking about the body moments before he had to block the head kick, and that just always is going to compromise the defense a little bit. So, yeah, really good win for Terrence McKinney. 24 seconds. Like, this dude is allergic to fights that last longer than like 2 minutes. It's crazy. I mean, when you look at his past few fights, last one lost in round 1, 2.5 minute mark. Before that, round 1 sub at 55 seconds. Before that, KO at 2 minutes. Before that, KO loss at 37 seconds. Before that, KO at 20 seconds. Before that, KO at 1:25. Like I could just go on, and all of these are under 2.5 minutes. It's crazy. I don't even know how it's possible. I mean, he's so aggressive, I guess, but it's insane.
Yeah, and what's even crazier is that he has not had a single performance bonus in his career, and he's never left the first round.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, hardly gets past the first 30 seconds. That's insane.
Yeah.
You need to start paying this guy.
Yeah, and I think he still holds the fastest knockout in lightweight history with the Matt Frevola one.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that one. Okay, so obviously the Jorge Masvidal KO is faster, but not by much, right? Was that like 5 seconds maybe?
I think Jorge was 5 seconds.
Like the first one too, he threw
like 7 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And arguably, I mean, both of those could have been stopped pretty much right away. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any more you want to talk about that one, or want to move on?
No, we can move on.
Okay. Ignacio Bahamondes versus Tofik Musayev. This fight kind of pissed me off, I'm going to be honest, because I thought that Bahamondes, there was a very good chance he would have won the fight in the second round. He dropped him bad with the right hand. Dude, Bahamondes' timing was just on point. He controlled the distance so well, and yeah, he just landed a bunch of really good shots. Yeah, it's frustrating because he had Musayev dropped badly, and he was going to slam him. Like he was picking him up and he was going to slam him, and Musayev grabs the fence. Ref doesn't see it. In my eyes, that kind of foul actually changes the trajectory of the fight. Like Bahamondes had so much momentum at that point. If he slammed him to the ground and just landed a bunch of ground and pound, dude, he could have finished that fight. He's so technical and so skilled. He's so much variety in his game. Like he's really great in the grappling as well as the striking. And dude, that was frustrating because in my opinion, that should have been a point deduction. Like if you foul somebody or if you just commit any kind of foul, whether it be a groin shot, eye poke, touching the cage, grabbing the fence, that kind of thing, grabbing gloves, and it legitimately changes the trajectory of the fight, guaranteed point deduction. Another good example, dude, when Islam threw Charles Oliveira in the first round of their fight by grabbing his glove, that kind of crap, like, dude, that is that just drastically changes the direction of the fight, especially when that fight only lasted like 2 rounds, right? I mean, the fight may have looked completely different if Oliveira never got taken down in the first. You never know, right? That kind of stuff, I think there should be no tolerance point deduction, no warning, like you deduct a point, or you say, we're stopping the clock and we're moving the fight to the ground and we're going. But even then, that doesn't really do it justice because that gives that would have given Musayev time to recover. I will say his takedowns were really good to his credit, and his ground and pound was brutal. I think Bahamondes was spending too much time looking for submissions and not enough time just creating space and getting back to his feet because he was winning the fight on the feet, So, I can't fault Musayev for that. That was just good. But the fouls were really frustrating, and also not to mention he headbutted him on the ground, and it looked very intentional. Like there should be no tolerance for that. I mean, I understand headbutting somebody if you're both crashing in. You go for a takedown, they go for a takedown, you hit each other's head on, that happens. Like it's not intentional. But when you're in somebody's guard and you just slam your head into their forehead, like, dude, there should be no tolerance for that whatsoever. So who knows what would have happened in this fight if they were more aggressive with point deductions for fouls, because some of those were pretty egregious.
Yeah, the reffing, and honestly, the reffing on this entire card was super inconsistent, and we'll kind of get to that later, but it definitely showed in this fight. I mean, Bahamondes is really good, and I think that without the cheating, he would have won this fight. I think Musayev, I know he came from Ryzen, and it's I think he still thinks he's fighting in Ryzen, because I'm pretty sure, I think they have less rules in Ryzen. There's maybe headbutting or soccer kicks or knees or something like that. I know they're a little bit less legalistic about it, and so maybe he's confused if I'm being optimistic in his favor. But I mean, Bahamondes, he's really got off his back, but kind of like you were saying, he was committing on sub attempts to actually finish the fight, when in reality it's dude, put up a triangle, Musayev postures up, and then you push off of him right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you move your feet to his chest and shove him. Yeah, that kind of thing. Use the sub attempts to get them to back off, and then use that to get your feet in front of them and create space.
Yeah,
100% agree. And generally in MMA, being in your guard, it just sucks. It's great in jiu-jitsu, professional jiu-jitsu, because they can't hit you. But when someone's standing on top of you or sitting basically and they're above you, and they can just hit you really hard, it's just terrible. But that doesn't mean that jiu-jitsu off your back is a bad thing, right? You can use that because, I mean, if he throws up a triangle, which is very possible when someone's throwing ground and pound because their arms are flying around, you throw up a triangle and you get to that kind of the pit stop, as they say, where you haven't quite locked up the figure 4, but you have essentially your guard, instead of being around their waist, you have one of your legs up on top of their shoulder, right? But you still kind of have a closed guard. At that point, your opponent has to address it, right? They usually have to posture up and try and dig their other arm to the inside, or slide their other arm out and get to double unders. But usually it's digging their other arm back to the inside. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't a failure that you didn't get the sub. You created a reaction, right? They had to step back. They're no longer going to be hitting you at that time. Okay, now open up your guard, get your feet on their chest, and just kick them away. And then you can get back to your feet, right? That's kind of the beauty of jiu-jitsu, is that, yeah, you're either going to choke them out or break a limb or something, or they're going to have to respond to it. And usually whatever response that is going to open up an opportunity for you to do something else, like get away from them or push them away or get back to your feet, etc. So yeah, I wish he did that, because man, that ground and pound was brutal.
And then he kept underhooking the leg to kind of initiate a K guard sequence. And, leg locks have yet to really be meta in MMA, and really good leg lock artists have yet to rise to the top of the divisions, excluding Walter Walker, because I don't really count heavyweight as a division in MMA anymore, if I'm being honest, as far as technicals from technical standpoint. But every time he'd initiate K guard, he would just like stand still. He wouldn't like try to load Musayev on his hips and push him forward. He would just stay there, and then he'd get hammer fisted into oblivion. And it's just like,
Yeah.
that's where I think Bahamondes could improve. I think I think he learned a lot from this fight. Aside from the cheating and everything, just from like what he could control, I think he learned a lot going forward. I think he'll improve immensely. But the cheating left a bad taste in my mouth, but you know, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it was a fun fight to watch. So
Were there any other fights on this card that you wanted to talk about? I wanted to say something about the Ricky Simone, Adrian Yanez fight, but besides that, were there any others that you wanted to mention?
I want to talk about Chase Hooper a little bit.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't think that Gibson Jr. is like really, really high level, but I didn't think that he would be able to stop Chase Hooper's takedown, but he did. But Chase Hooper's head movement is terrible. It reminds me of RDR.
Yeah.
He's slow. It's like he used to be at 145. He moved up a weight class, and he's still slow. His head movement is terrible. You know, and I don't think he has problems with his technique or whatever. Dude, I think he just needs to put on some muscle. He kind of has the O'Malley physique in a sense. And like when you watched him and Gibson, dude, Gibson he looked like a brick. You know, and because Chase Hooper is so just like, he just looks like a kid body almost. I mean, not to put it lightly, I guess, but people, like when he's fighting somebody, I don't think people actually believe that Chase Hooper has knockout power. They don't believe that he can even get a KO. And when somebody doesn't believe you can actually KO them, like no matter how hard you try, they don't respect your strikes. And that is what led him to get to knock him out. He just Chase Hooper is he's just not like a force in the octagon. He's kind of like he can be bullied. You know what I mean?
He's not intimidating.
Exactly. And like I think he's a good fighter and he has great ground game, but he just doesn't have the strength and speed to get the fight where he wants it. So like at the end of the day, it's tough to keep watching him lose right now. And I think what he needs to change in his game, dude, stop training jiu-jitsu as much as you do and get a good strength and conditioning coach and just lift weights like a freak. Like honestly, like I think that's the best thing he can do in his career is put on some muscle and be an actual force in the octagon.
Yeah. I also think if he's going to try and, I mean, obviously we know he's got great jiu-jitsu. I think he does need to improve his takedowns though. Like his wrestling isn't that, I've never been so impressed with it. I remember there was at one point in this fight where he had a 2-on-1 or like a Russian tie where basically like you're cradling someone's arm from the outside. So you're holding their wrist and you're holding like their bicep like this and you're holding it like this and you're standing essentially behind them. The problem with that is that 2-on-1s are great in wrestling and jiu-jitsu because you are dominating like the outside of your opponent's arms. And so you have a great way to get to their back and they pretty much have to circle around to square themselves up with you. Otherwise it's gonna be so easy to get to their back or a body lock or anything like that, right? Problem is it's not that good in MMA because if you have 2-on-1, what does that mean? It means that both of your arms are holding one of their arm, which means that they have a free hand to hit you in the face and you have nothing to defend it. So like, I don't understand why you would ever use a 2-on-1 in a standing position, like in a clinch type position in MMA. Like that just doesn't make sense to me because again, you're basically saying I'm occupying both of my arms to control one of your arm, which means that you literally have a free hand to hit me. And generally speaking, like if you have any kind of 2-on-1 grip on somebody, that can be fine in MMA if you're behind them, but not if you're in front of them, right? Like if you're just literally holding someone's, like you're cradling someone's arm and they're standing right in front of you, like they're just going to hit you with their other hand. That's exactly what happened. He had to let go of it and switch to like a single leg or something. I don't know exactly. I'll have to rewatch, but that kind of stuff is just like, oh man, you know what I mean? Again, his jiu-jitsu is very good, but if he was able to just get that fight to the ground much just faster and more aggressively, like it would do him so many favors.
Not to mention too, the stoppage in this fight from my eyes was actually terrible. Like, and the commentators were like, well, you know, he's not protesting the stoppage. So, you know, he knows that it was a good stoppage. I'm like, dude, I generally think that Chase Hooper wasn't protesting the stoppage because A, he's a nice guy. He's avoiding conflict with the ref, and he knows that doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's like a reason why it was a good stoppage. And like, put it this way, right? He was really dazed, kind of knocked down. He rolled over to his guard, like Charles, kind of with his like hands cradling his head in his supine guard, and Gibson was like jumping into his guard, and the ref like dove in between them, right? And I'm like, dude, we know, everybody knows that Chase Hooper's strengths are in his ground game. We all know that. He's in his guard, right? And the ref doesn't even allow him to regain his guard, right? It's like, dude, you stopped the fight before it went to where Chase Hooper wanted it to go. It's like, I know that he's dazed, but dude, I think the refs got to let these fights, they got to give these fighters a chance a little bit more. Not to mention too, that the fact that the fight before this was Stirling and Bruno Lopes, and that stoppage was insanely late. And then to go from that to this stoppage being insanely early, it's like, dude, there is no consistency in this reffing, and it's starting to annoy me.
I actually agree. I would have liked them. I would have liked to have seen them let that fight go just a little bit longer. Like, I think Chase Hooper was with it enough to be able to take another good punch, and still not be dead. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't have been out cold. Like, they could have let him kind of let that fight go a little bit. Just kind of like how, what was the other fight that they let go a little bit longer than maybe most? I remember Dominic Cruz was talking about it. Gosh, what was it? It may have been the Bahamondes fight.
Probably.
But anyways, yeah. Generally erring more on the side of, okay, if there's some kind of knockdown, but not like a knockdown where you get dropped, more like a knockdown where you're kind of stumbling and they push you over, like, yeah, let that go a little bit. Because he seemed fine. He rolled over into turtle and just kind of sat there like, oh man, that's
especially also you got to like relative to the style of the person. Like, if Chase Hooper had a bad ground game, I understand it more, because there's no chance. There's a reason why why when Charles fights, the refs let it go when he hits the deck. There's a reason, because Charles is known to have a really good guard and really good ground game, right? And I'm not comparing Chase Hooper to Charles, but he has a good ground game, so when he hits the ground, they should let it go a little bit longer. That's my case.
No, I agree. 100%. Yeah. Was there any other one you want to talk about? Navajo Stirling, I guess, beat Bruno Lopes.
Yeah.
It looked good. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward fight. I'm trying to think what I thought was good. I kind of like how he uses his jab as a range finder. I noticed that he does this thing where he kind of holds his hand out, kind of just pumps it out a little bit, just so he can kind of get a feel for how far his opponent is, and then he uncorks the right hand. I like how he does that. It's really basic, but he just uses it as like he just uses it to set him to actually as a setup versus just kind of aimlessly just throwing his jab out there. It was a good finish, though. I don't know. Besides that, I don't have much to say about it.
Yeah, I feel like Navajo Stirling just continues to show that he's kind of a slow starter. Because even that first round, I saw some judges gave it to Bruno Lopes. Like, it was kind of competitive. But obviously Bruno Lopes, like we said earlier, was definitely a step down in competition. And I think Navajo Stirling is going to be a guy. I don't think he's going to be undefeated like for a long time.
I don't think
like
so either.
Every time I watch him, I'm kind of like, I mean, I like that he's from City Kickboxing, that he's teammates with, like the Auckland boys, but it's like, dude, this guy is very beatable. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's gonna have like a Peyton Talbot moment where like he might get another win, and then he's gonna fight somebody up on the level of like Rowney Barcelos, and then he's gonna get controlled and mauled on the ground for 15 minutes. And then that's where he's going to have that switch in his game. So, like, I'm kind of waiting. Like, when is he going to have that one loss that's going to make him improve a lot? Because, like, right now, I feel like he's improving a little bit. But sometimes it takes a fighter to lose one to really just, like, step into their game,
What do you think about the UFC giving him a top 15 guy at this point? He obviously was on Dana White's Contender Series, and he's won 4 in a row since then. I am not too against that at this point. Like, you've won 4 fights in a row. I guess maybe if you had one that was like, if you had one more win that was super convincing, maybe it would be kind of more of a no-brainer to give him a top 15 opponent. But I don't know if I have a problem with the UFC giving him a top 15 guy. I'm not sure who exactly that would be, but
yeah,
I don't know. What do you think about that?
Honestly, dude, like the UFC likes to build up fighters slowly. They're like, let's like Bo Nickel is a perfect example. And that's a fighter that annoys me. And I'm like, dude, or like Oteba Gatier. It's like, dude, we know these guys can crush cans. We understand it. We've seen them kill 3 people on TV. Now, can you give him somebody who can defend a takedown or in Oteba's case, like, can you give somebody who actually knows how to wrestle and not give him these like trash can stand-up fighters that just get flatlined, And so I'm kind of a fan of like, I think young people get a couple wins, throw them to the wolves. I like Hamzat exactly. When he was a prospect, like he was doing good, had a couple good wins, and then there's like, let's just give him Gilbert Burns, who was like top 3 at the time. Let's just do it. Or it's kind of a random example, but same thing with Marcus McGee fighting Peter Yan. He was like number 11. He had like a couple good wins. Give him Peter Yan. I like that a lot because worst case scenario, the prospect loses and they grow a ton. You know what I mean? Versus drawing out their build-up phase for 5 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would not be opposed, dude. Give him like somebody top 10, Volkan Oezdemir or something like that.
Got an idea. Give him Alexander Rakic. Okay. Alexander Rakic is 0-4. He's ranked number 11, which means that I don't think it would be outrageous if the UFC said, like, let's, he's obviously kind of on a losing skid. Usually, generally, it goes that way where someone's on their way down and someone's on their way up and they kind of meet in the middle. If they're going to throw Navajo Stirling a top 15 fight, that wouldn't be crazy. Again, because Rakic is on a 4-fight losing skid. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. But
yeah, that's a good idea. I do think the only thing is that Alexander Rakic is moving up to heavyweight.
Is he actually officially doing that?
I don't know if it's official, but I think it's highly likely. I think it's been hinted at a lot. But I do think that's a good matchup. Okay. But like the classic, like give somebody who's kind of on a losing skid against somebody who's like not in the rankings, but on like a winning kind of like streak. But yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right. I wanted to say something about Adrian Yanez versus Ricky Simón. I don't know what the judges were seeing in this fight. I never once thought that Ricky Simón had the advantage really over Yanez. He had him hurt in the 3rd round at one point, but so did Yanez. They both had each other hurt, like backed up against the cage at one point. And he dropped him in the 3rd round. My opinion, I don't know if the 3rd round should have been a 10-8, actually. I mean, maybe, but I don't know about that. Like, I think just dropping somebody doesn't always guarantee a 10-8, but I genuinely thought that Yanez won every 3 round, every single round. I thought he won all 3. He was, okay, I watched the fight. Anytime there was a kind of a bigger exchange, I was watching it slow motion. Dude, Yanez was just so accurate. He was just on the money. Like every time like Ricky came crashing in, he was always pulling his head off the center line and so accurate landing his right hand. A lot of those exchanges where punches are flying, there's a flurry. When you watch it slow, Yanez was the one who was actually landing on the target almost every time. I genuinely think this was a legitimate robbery. Like, I do not know how this could have been a majority draw. I thought it should have been 30-27, arguably 30-26 for Adrian Yanez. Really? That's how obvious I thought it was. Yes. Maybe I need to watch it again, but I do not understand how anybody could have given Ricky Simón. Maybe the first 2 rounds were close. There wasn't a huge split between them, but I thought if they gave this fight 30-27 to Yanez, I would have been like, oh yeah. Like, I agree. Like that's totally legit scorecard. But the fact that every single judge gave Ricky Simón rounds 1 and 2, I don't know what they were seeing. Maybe I didn't watch the fight close enough, but I thought it was really obvious that Yanez won. Kind of interesting. I noticed both of them had a really low stance. Maybe Yanez thought the fight was going to go to the ground. He looked like he had a super low stance. And sometimes in the past, he's kind of been that way too, where he's really hunched over like this. But I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch some of Yanez's old fights, but it kind of looked to me like he thought Ricky was going to wrestle a bunch, and he didn't really do that. So,
what about the control time in the 2nd round? I thought he had like 2+ minutes of control time in the 2nd round. So I don't.
Yeah, it's possible you could give the 2nd round to Simón.
Yeah, like if I were scoring it, I would have said round 1 10-9 Yanez, round 2 10-9 Simón, round 3 10-9 Yanez. And I did not think it was a 10-8.
I didn't think about that.
And I was actually gonna ask you like kind of my one, or I have two questions, but my one question is like, what makes a round a 10-8 round? Because in the third round, right, it was leading up, they both hurt each other really bad, and then I was like, hey, so it's kind of like a close round, and then yeah, Simone gets dropped. I'm like, okay, easy 10-9. And then like 2 out of the 3 judges had a 10-8. I'm like, okay, I mean, he dropped him bad, but I mean, Simone just like kind of covered up, then dove for a leg. I'm like, how does that make it a 10-8 round? Like when I think of a 10-8 round, I think somebody gets dropped multiple times in the fight and they're close to losing the fight, like multiple times, or one time that it's like almost a robbery that it wasn't stopped. Like that's a 10-8 to me. So what is a 10-8 in your mind?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not quite as concrete as boxing, where every time you get a knockdown, it's a one more point for you. I would say, if it ever feels like the opponent was saved by the bell, not necessarily like you don't necessarily have to, not in a literal sense where like you have them hurt at the end of the round, but more like if the fight just didn't have rounds, like it just continued on as long as it needed to go. If it was pretty much a guarantee, a lock that you would have won that fight, it should be a 10-8. You know what I mean? And yeah, like for example, I think Yusri Belgaroui versus Mansour Abdul Malik, I think the second round maybe could have been a 10-8 because Abdul Malik was really hurt in that round. Should this one have been a 10-8? Probably, now that I think about it, because he did have him really hurt at the end. Like if the ref didn't, if round 3 didn't end and they just let the fight go as long as it needed to go, Yanez definitely would have KO'd him. So in that sense, maybe it should have been a 10-8. But the thing that makes me kind of question that is that Ricky Simone also had him hurt pretty good at one point in the round, so maybe that kind of evened the scorecards out, but maybe that's the wrong way to think about it. I don't know. So yeah, on second thought, maybe round 3 should have been a 10-8. So I agree with you, actually. I didn't consider the control time that Simone had in round 2. Maybe it just it didn't seem super significant to me, but yeah, if round 3 was a 10-8 and Simone won round 1 and Yanez won, or sorry, Simone won round 2, Yanez won round 1, that would be what? 29-26? Right? Or no, 29-27. 29-27.
Yeah.
That's probably what the scorecards should have been. Mm-hmm. Still, clearly Yanez won, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other question I have, which is also kind of connecting to this and the Stirling fight, is when should a fight truly be stopped? Because this fight arguably could have been stopped in the third round. The Bruno Lopes fight could have been stopped probably a minute earlier than it was. Chase Hooper was stopped too early. It's like, okay, we have all this inconsistency. So in your opinion, in Fight Lab's opinion, what truly makes a fight that like it should be stopped?
Let's see. I feel like a lot of it has to do with body language. Like, are they defending themselves? Do they look like they're going to be defending themselves? I think refs sometimes stop fights without really testing to see what their body language looks like because they're trying to avoid the super necessary shots. Like, that might be why the fight was stopped between Lance Gibson Jr. and Chase Hooper, because maybe he had a bad angle and thought that Hooper was like dropped, like kind of folded over. And he was like, whoa, I can't let him take unnecessary damage here. But yeah, I think most of it has to do with just body language. Like, they look like they're capable of continuing to defend themselves. And it's a tricky thing, right? Because, for example, when you think of like the classic Pat Barry versus Chet Congo, like that was a crazy fight. And there were a lot of times in that round where it looked like Chet Congo was kind of losing it. Like he was not defending himself. But the ref just had insane vision for that fight somehow and let the fight go. And of course, Chet Congo ended up getting the KO like 30 seconds later. And then you have fights like Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Not the second fight, obviously. I'm talking about the first fight, where it's like, Izzy was kind of still defending himself, but maybe the ref was like, there's no way he's going to get out of this situation. Like, he just has to use his judgment and say he is going to lose. He's either going to get KO'd, like actually flatline KO'd, or I step in. Like, that's the only two options here. Mm-hmm. And maybe the ref, when they kind of make that decision, they kind of go, okay, now's the time. and they just have to use their judgment. Even if the fighter they're going after is still protecting themselves. I mean, it's kind of the same thing where I would say maybe another piece of it too is, does the fighter protect themselves look like they're trying to escape or like somehow advance their position and get out, right? Like
Terrence McKinney.
Yeah, Terrence McKinney, or even like Adesanya tonight against Joe Pyfer. Like he was belly down, and Pyfer was just basically in mount, building a back mount, right? And was just kind of like hitting him. And yeah, Adesanya wasn't that hurt, right? It's not like he wasn't defending himself, but he also wasn't trying to escape really. He was just kind of sitting there covering up. And I think to a certain extent, in those situations, yeah, it's totally fine to end the fight, because if you've given them 20 seconds to try and escape the position and it looks like they literally can't, you kind of owe it to them to be like, okay, I know you're stuck here. You're not going to get out. I'm going to stop you from taking unnecessary damage. I think it's fine for referees to kind of use a little bit of to have the score, the clock kind of factor in a little bit. Like if you're taking a lot of damage, you know, you're covering up or you're not really advancing your position and there's like 10 seconds left, I think it's fine for the ref to say, yeah, you're going to tank a couple of shots, but you're probably going to thank me when the round's over because you get to continue fighting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's fine too. Like, for example, if Joe Pyfer was in that position against Izzy and there was like 30 seconds left, or like maybe not that much, maybe like 15, I bet you he would have let it go for 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you think that refs should focus more on body language and less on the fear of taking unnecessary strikes?
Probably, yeah, because it mostly has to do with this. Like, they have to make a decision. The ref has to decide, is this person going to get out of this situation before they get KO'd? Like, actually KO'd, like they're unconscious. And if the answer is no, they step in and they stop the fight. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. Or, I guess the other option is, okay, is this fighter going to either escape the position on their own or the round will end before they get flatline KO'd? Mm-hmm. That's the decision they have to make. If the answer is no, they step in and stop it. If the answer is yes, they let it go. Mm-hmm. And that depends on how much time is on the clock and what's their body language and what are they actually doing. Do they look like they're trying to escape, or do they look like they're just kind of covering up? I mean, think about Terrence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. Was Kyle Nelson about to be flatline KO'd? No, maybe he could have been there for 20 more seconds, but there was 4.5 minutes on the clock, and he wasn't doing anything to get out of that position. He was just tanking shots on the arms. And it's like, it would be ridiculous for the ref to let that go, because he's not showing like he wants to escape, and he doesn't have, and the clock isn't going to escape for him, right? Because he's got 5 minutes left, and he can't do it for 5 minutes. So, yeah, I think generally that's what it should be.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah. Awesome. I don't think I have anything more to say on any of the fights. Kind of a longer podcast, but I think it was productive. So,
oh yeah, there was it was so many finishes. It was a really great card. Mm-hmm. Like one of the better fight nights of the year so far.
100%.
I think so anyways.
100%.
It was very good.
Yeah, these are the kind of...
Mostly finishes.
Yeah, these are the kind of cards you got to analyze. Be like, hey, why... It could just be the fighters, but it's like, why are there so many finishes on this card? And then like the average card has like 4 finishes out of like, 10 fights. It's like, okay, so how do we like, imagine if this card was every weekend, had like, out of the 11 fights, there was like 9 finishes every weekend, dude, the sport would double in a year. Like, honestly, mm-hmm. It's that's what's at stake when it comes to getting finishes in fights. That's the kind of value that can bring,
oh yeah, this one had 9 finishes. The last one had 4.
Exactly.
Like it's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's more entertaining, So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Good card.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, let's end it there.